Hey everyone and welcome back to Top Wine List. My name is Sebastian and this, my friends, it's the second episode. Today we're giving out 5 different wine recommendations that you can drink if you're still in quarantine. Now before I start, please let me tell you that I don't have any affiliation with any of these wineries or wine stores or whatsoever. The only thing that I have is a lot of friends in Miami that they were asking me for some wine advice. So I decided to go online, pick up a wine store and select a few bottles of wine that I personally like. I like them a lot, maybe too much. And I think you should try these wines too. The name of the store where you can find all of the wines I'm gonna tell you today, it's called ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. And it's one of the oldest and biggest family-owned wine stores in Florida. They're all over the place. And according to the website, they do offer contactless curbside pickup and also delivery, so you can check them out. I will leave all the links below. Also guys, a big thank you if you watched the first episode. It was a lot of fun for me recording that and it seems that you guys really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for the comment. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. That's very important for me as well. And let's don't waste any more time. Let's jump into these 5 wines that you can drink while you're still in quarantine. Wine number 1, it's a Torrontés and it's coming from Argentina. The name of the wine is Piattelli Vineyards. Torrontés, it's the most famous white grape from Argentina, and it's actually a cross between 2 other grapes, MUSCAT of Alexandria and an Argentine grape called Criolla Chica. And even though we have 3 different types of Torrontés in Argentina, most people agree that the best Torrontés doesn't come from Mendoza, but it comes from Cafayate Valley. So if you really like this wine, next time you buy a bottle of Torrontés, look on the label for Cafayate Valley and you're gonna be getting the best. It's also worth mentioning that many wineries from Mendoza, what they do is that they will source Torrontés grapes from Cafayate or other places nearby, but they will make the wine in Mendoza. So, next time you're buying wine, take a look on the back label and see if you can find some more information pointing the source of those grapes. Now, the Torrontés grape makes a wine very aromatic. It has a lot of fragrance, a lot of perfume. It literally smells like a fruit salad mixed with jasmine, honey, and orange blossom. But on the palate, Torrontés is generally bone dry. So it's kind of like a shock. You smell sweet, but it tastes dry. It's actually a great combination. Now, there are a few interesting things to know about this winery. The project is owned by John Malinsky, an adventurous Minnesota businessman. He made a lot of money with copy machines and some other businesses he had, in Russia. And now he's making wine in Argentina since 2001. Great wines, great value. He also has a Piattelli Vineyards in Mendoza. Now, if you have the chance to find their Cabernet Sauvignon, please try it also because these wines are really amazing. Now, let's talk about food. What can you eat with Torrontés? People in Argentina like to prepare deep-fried empanadas. If you have never tried an Argentine empanada in your life, you're definitely missing out. I'm gonna leave in the video description a recipe with a video so you can prepare the best chicken empanadas of your life. But of course, if you don't want to cook, you can always grab the phone and order some Mexican food. Chicken enchiladas, tamales, even some guacamole and chips. Guys, Torrontés is not a difficult wine. Just get some chips, get some guacamole, make it spicy if you want. That's all what you need to really enjoy that bottle of Torrontés. Wine number 2 is the Lodge Hill Shiraz, and it comes all the way from South Australia in the very famous Clare Valley. And it sells for only $17.99, guys. The producer is Jim Barry, an absolute legend in Australia. If you never heard of him, Jim was a pioneer, one of the very first university-trained winemakers in the whole country, and very famous for his family flagship wine, the Armagh, one of Australia's best bottles of Shiraz at $250. The Lodge Hill Shiraz is named after the vineyard where it is planted, and it's actually a very interesting story. So back in 1977, the original idea was to have Riesling only planted in that vineyard. But Jim founded a small spot in the north-facing slope of the hill where the temperature was warmer compared to the rest of the property, and that gave him the clue that it will be great for planting Shiraz as well. So that's really cool to see one vineyard planted at the same time with 2 different grape varieties, Shiraz and Riesling. How the wine tastes? Well, this is definitely an Australian Shiraz, so you can expect 2 things, blackberries and plums. Now, this is not a shy wine. You can really feel the wine on your palate. It's big, it's juicy. The wine is very well made. When you drink it, you can really feel that it has a lot of balance. That means you don't drink the alcohol from one part and the fruit from the other, or the oak and the acidity. Everything is smashed into one beautiful thing. To be honest with you, I love this wine. And I love this one also with food. So you can try some sticky short ribs barbecue, maybe some small hamburgers with blue cheese, they go well with Shiraz, or even better, look at this recipe, some elegant braised lamb shanks. That looks so good. I'm leaving the link of this recipe down on the video description. Wine number 3, it's called Monsanto Chianti Classico. This is the most expensive out of all the wines that I'm recommending today. It sells for $23.99. And if you watch the first episode of our show, you know that I made reference to Monsanto Chianti, but in this case, we're gonna be talking about the Chianti Classico Riserva. Now, I'm sure that you have heard of Chianti. Chianti is a very famous wine growing region located in the middle of Tuscany between Florence and Siena. And even though Chianti had a bad reputation between 1940s, 1960s, during those years, there was a lot of very low quality cheap Chianti wine being exported everywhere in the world in a very funny, strange, funny looking bottle. No bueno. But that didn't stop people to try to make a better wine, and that's when our friend Monsanto comes to place. The winery has been making wine for hundreds of years, but the Bianchi family bought the property in 1962 and they made history by producing the first singled vineyard Chianti in the entire region from a vineyard called Il Poggio, a wine that is still being made today, and it sells for around $70–$80. Now, this one on the nose is not really very fruity. Yeah, they're still gonna find, the regular sour cherry and maybe like a small green olives. But even though if you're not an expert, the moment that you pour that one in the glass, when you smell, you will notice that it smells different. It doesn't smell like any other red wine. This kind of Chianti, it really has a very characteristic nose. And even though the nose, yes, it's beautiful, the best part of this wine, guys, is when you finally get to drink it. The texture, the weight, this one is dense, it's full body, even though for sure there are, heavier or, bigger wines. But it's just so fresh. Guys, this is definitely one of those wines that you will drink more than one bottle, especially if you're eating something with it. If you have a decanter at home, definitely let this wine breathe. Not because it's a very strong wine, just because it's gonna open up. All these beautiful aromas that we were talking before on the nose are gonna start coming out. And in the meantime, of course, you can prepare some comfort Italian food or whatever you want. I like to prepare myself a very special recipe, which is called Slow Short Ribs by Gordon Ramsay. So if you want to try it, the link it's again below in the video description. Wine number 4, we have another red wine. In this case, it's this Rodney Strong Russian River Valley Pinot Noir. It sells for only $17.99, and this, my friends, it's the big deal, because to find a Pinot Noir from Russian River at this price is an absolute bargain. In case you didn't know, Russian River is a large sub-region inside Sonoma Valley in California, and it's one of the most famous regions in the world for Pinot Noir. The problem with Pinot Noir, though, is that the grape, it's difficult to grow and it's difficult to make a wine using Pinot Noir. It's a very special grape. It's very delicate, it's very fussy, it needs a lot of attention. Actually, I can relate to Pinot Noir. I also need a lot of attention. And that's one of the reasons why you see so many Pinot Noirs out there being so expensive, but not the one that we have today. Now, before we jump into the tasting notes, let me tell you more about the winery. Rodney Strong was the name of the founder. He was an American ballet dancer who fell in love with wine while he was living in Paris and opened his winery in 1962 after he moved to Sonoma. At that time, Rodney Strong Vineyards was only the 13th winery in the area. And from the beginning, quality was the focus of this great man. He was one of the very first to plant Pinot Noir in the Russian River, and it was one of the biggest pioneers in California winemaking. Some people like to call him, the Robert Mondavi from Sonoma, and they might be right. He was indeed a great person and founded a great company. Now, unfortunately though, he had to sell his winery in the 70s to a big corporation, and for a few years,
things didn't go well, but in 1989, the Klein family bought it back and they have owned the winery ever since.
Hey guys, sorry, a quick note before we continue. The prices of these wines are the prices that I saw on their website whenever I made this homework. So the prices might gonna change. Anyway, I don't think it's gonna be a large difference on price. So let me know down in the comments where do you live, if you can find these wines, and maybe you get a better deal. So that being said, now we can continue. Now let's talk about a little bit on how this wine tastes. I love this one. It's very fruity. It's very easy to drink. You can expect a lot of fruit on the palate, especially dark cherry tart and raspberries. Remember that the wine has 14 months in oak, so vanilla and nutmeg for sure inside that mix. The thing that I enjoy the most on this wine, it's the acidity. Guys, remember that Pinot Noir is one of those grapes that it can retain high levels of acidity. And good acidity in a wine, it can make, first of all, the wine much easier to drink, and second, it can make a wine much more food friendly, and that's because acidity re-enhances naturally the flavor in food. If you're looking for some wine pairings for this wine, I think that anything that has mushrooms on it is gonna go amazing. I'm gonna share with you the recipe made by Gennaro and Jamie Oliver on that mushroom risotto. I think that's gonna work absolutely amazing. And last but not least, guys, we have our wine number 5. It's a very, very new red wine, also from California. It's called the Unshackled Red Blend, and it's made by the Prisoner Wine Company. Now, to be honest with you guys, I haven't tried this wine quite yet, and that's because the wine was released in January, and I've been stuck in Argentina. But I have tried and tasted many of and drank a lot many of the wines made by the Prisoner Wine Company. And if you have never heard about the Prisoner Wine Company, please allow me to tell you their story, because it's relatively a new winery with a long history.
Everything started 20 years ago when Dave Feeney founded a winery called Orin Swift. Now, the Prisoner label was his flagship wine, and you can see why the wine is called The Prisoner. There's an etching of a prisoner on the label. And this was actually drawn by the super famous Spanish artist Francisco Goya, the same guy who painted the insanely obscure and world famous Saturn devouring his son. Crazy stuff. Now, in the beginning, the Prisoner wine was a multi-blend of Zinfandel, Cab, Syrah, and Petit Syrah, and just a couple of cases were made. Now, eventually, Dave sold the Prisoner brand in 2010 to the owners of Quintessa Winery, and they finally sold it to Constellation Brands in 2016. Constellation, in case you didn't know, it's one of the biggest wine companies in the world. They owned Robert Mondavi and Franciscan Winery, among other 100 different brands. In 2018, Constellation closed Franciscan Winery Napa and built a new winery in its place, and that's exactly where the Prisoner Wine Company sits right now.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just have a quick side note. I used to work in Napa Valley for a winery called Inglenook. I'm gonna tell you more about that maybe in the future. And I was there at the time when the old Franciscan winery was being rebuilt in order to transform it into the new Prisoner Wine Company. And it was actually really weird to see that change, because people was looking for a winery, but they ended up like finding something else in that place. But to be honest with you, the winery, it's really awesome. They have a lot of arts, a lot of food and wine pairings, and very interesting activities. Right now, of course, with all this pandemic situation and COVID-19, I don't think they're even open, or they might gonna be open, but you know, with some changes or whatever. But anyway, if you ever visit Napa Valley, please go and take a look there, because it's a wonderful winery to visit. Now, going back to our wine, guys, I think the Unshackled Red Blend is gonna be something like a small prisoner. And I'm just saying that because this one is also gonna be a blend, but in this case of Zinfandel, Malbec, Syrah, Petit Syrah, and Grenache. The one is gonna have some oak, American, and French, but it only costs $23. I mean, for $23, I'm more than happy to try that wine. Or if you guys want to buy that bottle of wine and ship it to me, I'm more than happy to give you my address. Now, I cannot tell you how the wine tastes because obviously I haven't tried it, but I can tell you guys, I'm very excited, you know, no surprise why so many people likes these kind of wines. And without a doubt, it's gonna be one of the first wines I'm gonna try when I'm able to travel again. Okay guys, that's it. Now you have 5 wines that you can drink in quarantine. Well, also, if you're not in quarantine, remember that if you don't live in Florida, you can still buy these wines. Also, guys, if you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. And before I go, I want us to finish every episode with the question of the day. That means every day at the end of the video, I'm gonna start asking a question and I wanna see all your comments down below. So the question of the day, it's gonna be, what's your favorite wine? I want you to tell me, I want you to type, this is my favorite wine. I'm gonna tell you mine on the next video because I want to hear more about you guys. I wanna get ideas on future videos and these kind of things. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Goodbye. Okay guys, that's all. So